My name is Luna Garcia, and I will be presenting my research on Taylor Swift and women's mental health. Women's mental health has been a pressing issue for centuries. Women have been dismissed, degraded, and put into dangerous situations because their mental health wasn't taken seriously. Although not explicitly stated in all of her songs, Taylor Swift has referenced struggles with her mental health in her songs. Taylor Swift's music serves as a modern feminist lens on the historical treatment of women's mental health, illustrating how societal dismissal of female struggles persists today. Thus, Taylor Swift can be viewed as a powerful modern feminist. According to research done by Dr. Beatrice Quintella, women's mental health started as demonic possession. It was believed that women were more susceptible to these illnesses because they were, quote, weak, so they could be easily possessed. The same thought process was applied into the United States in the Salem witch trials in 1692. Mainly women, but some men as well, were hanged for the belief of practicing witchcraft. What made the public believe witchcraft was present was the symptoms of convulsions, seizures, and barking like a dog. That brings a serious discussion of the dismissal of women's mental health. For centuries, men blamed something that dehumanized women for their symptoms. For example, spirits that possess their uteruses. The issues are far more serious than men were implying. Due to that, women were not given adequate care that they needed to treat their illnesses, leading their health to further decline. Eventually, women were treated for their mental health illnesses with a more healthcare approach, but it still wasn't sufficient. A story that stood out was that of Elizabeth Packard in 1860. Elizabeth was admitted to an asylum at the discretion of her husband for not obeying him. The story is an example of how women have been punished for standing up for themselves. In the 20th century, women's mental health care did not improve much. Doctors were severing nerves in the brain in a procedure called a lobotomy. Similarly, lobotomies were given to women who were defiant against their husbands to make them more, quote, normal and carry on more traditional roles. Oftentimes, these resulted in more harm than good for the patient. Fast forward over a century later, women are obtaining mental health care through therapies and proper medications, but not all women have access to or want this kind of care. Every race and ethnicity has its mental health challenges when it comes to culture and gender and sexual identity. There must be adequate mental health care that addresses these challenges, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Firstly, mixed race women can face self identity issues as they navigate their sense of belonging within multiple racial backgrounds, thus impacting their mental health and creating a need for specialized mental health care. But Dr. Tab at the University of Illinois indicates that multiracial, biracial, and mixed race women emerge as the least studied group in women's mental health research, even though they represent a sizable and growing demographic in the United States. The possible reason for this as to why it occurs is the harmful stigma against minority women. Furthermore, researchers may have been reluctant to include them. Through this, mixed race women are not getting the best suited mental health practices for them. Consequently, there are cultural stigmas that are holding minorities from receiving mental health care. According to Hispanic psychiatric researchers at Harvard University, for Hispanic people, mental illness is viewed as a sign of weakness or as having religious connotations. The stigma applies that Hispanic women are less likely to seek mental health care as they may fear being perceived as weak. Lastly, a study done by researchers at the University of Washington indicates that the internalization of socially sanctionalized homophobia leads to self-devaluation and poor self-regard among sexual minorities. Because of the homophobia in society, sexual minorities may never accept their sexual identity. Therefore, there must be mental health care, research, and professionals that can help people through these identity issues, but there's not that much available. While history demonstrates the severe consequences of dismissing women's mental health, Taylor Swift's vulnerability exemplifies how personal struggle can drive activism. Taylor Swift has explained her struggles with her mental health in her movie Miss Americana in an interview with Elle magazine. In Miss Americana, Swift discusses her body image issues and her eating disorder. She explained that when she saw photos of herself or what people were saying about her body, she restricted her food intake. That developed into an eating disorder until she realized that was unhealthy. So now she has to stop herself when she starts to feel that way. Here's a clip.
This would cause me to go into like a real shame, like hate spiral. This. And like I caught myself yesterday starting to do it, and I was like, nope, we don't do that anymore. We do not do that anymore because it's better to think you look fat than to look sick. And we don't do that anymore, and we're changing the channel in our brain, and we're not doing that anymore. That didn't end us up in a good place.
Overall, she challenges societal views because she's going against thin beauty standards and doing what's best for her body, even if that's not what society prefers. With the rise of social media, women often face body image issues. Swift's vulnerability about her eating disorder shows that even celebrities deal with these kinds of challenges, making her a powerful feminist role model for women facing these kinds of issues.
This would
In her Elle interview, 30 Things I Learned Before Turning 30, Taylor Swift explains how social media has affected her mental health and how she learned to block herself from the hate, like turning off the comments on her post. Through this, Swift is teaching her fans how to improve their mental health. With all this considered, Swift does a great job in her music addressing women's mental health issues. The song This Is Me Trying relates to feminism by highlighting women's mental health struggles and trying to overcome them. Though this is the cause of the struggle is unknown in the song, it can relate to many of the issues mentioned. Historically, it relates to women's mental health not being taken seriously as Taylor's pleading that she is trying to improve herself. Similarly, women has felt this way as men constantly dismissed it and they did not receive proper care but instead social judgment. Mirrorball links the societal pressure and expectations that women face and the toll it takes on their mental health. As seen in history, women were expected to adhere to societal standards and there was a heavy pressure to do so. If they did not comply, they were sent to receive care for their madness, such as Elizabeth Packard and the women who received lobotomies. She makes a strong feminist argument that women have mental health issues and it should not be disregarded as such. Although not everyone thinks she is a feminist. In an article by Sarah Weinstein in the Jewish Women's Archive explains, in her opinion, that Swift's music is inherently feminist, but her actions aren't. Some examples were the Nicki Minaj Twitter feud dating Maddie Healy, who has degraded black women and adhering to white feminism primarily. She is a wealthy white woman, so her challenges may not be reflective of all women, and that goes for the means of her activism. Primarily, it's on social media, not everyone has access to it. For example, activism through billboards or city posters could help reach those without internet access, but she still has some feminist actions like filing and winning a sexual assault case and the You Need to Calm Down music video, which has a diverse cast member. The critique is that Swift still has work to do on her feminist activism, and it's the fans' responsibility to critique her and make those changes. Fans should hold her accountable for the inclusion for everyone and make her advocacy more accessible. As a fan of Swift, her music has helped me cope with my own mental health struggles, demonstrating the power of vulnerability and overcoming social expectations. To me, mental health is not a song topic I hear about often, so a big artist like Taylor making multiple songs about it is feminist activism. While she has used her social media to advocate for mental health through awareness posts and collaborations with mental health campaigns, I would argue there needs to be more advocacy for ethnic and racial minorities since she promotes mental health advocacy broadly. She has a massive following, therefore her advocacy for minority research and breaking cultural stigmas could result in substantial change. However, she has done a lot for the LGBTQ plus community regarding mental health for them, like partnering with the Trevor Project. But overall, I do not believe she is a bad feminist for not supporting minority advocacy enough. She has shown through other actions that she is a feminist figure. In conclusion, while Swift's music reflects a continuous struggle of women's mental health, there is a significant opportunity to expand her activism to include marginalized groups, driving more inclusive mental health advocacy. The implications of the research would include how to increase advocacy for mental health care for minority women and how far women have come in advocating for their own mental health. Finally, circling back to modern women's mental health through social media and how figures like Taylor Swift can advocate for women's issues.